A significant moment for us in the local was on June 14th when we were locked out at 8 p.m. in the evening, and we started getting calls here from the workers in both facilities that were being ushered out of the building, to put it politely, but to some shock for their work experience, to be told that they had to get out of the building, and it was treated like more than an emergency. But immediately they pulled together and they stuck together on the picket line, and I think it was a strong solidarity building experience for everybody in the local.
The most important thing that I found with the strike was that we all got to know each other better and we all became one union.
This lockout was a really eye-opening experience. I saw discipline, fun-loving brothers and sisters, and determined to show management that how strong we are. And we proved it, we showed it, and we enjoyed it. We should be having some fun. We had some fun, we had some determination, and we have some brotherly and sisterly get-together. I enjoyed it every day.
So Margaret, the lockout 12 months later, how do you feel?
I realize that a lot of my feelings are still there, and they're all sitting right here. I still have anger, I still feel I'm being disrespected, and that my collective bargaining rights are being totally disdained by government and employer. I was very disappointed on top of it. That's about it.
Thanks, Margaret.
When will be the contract approved? We are in limbo right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you remember that?
Oh, we had that right now.
The dance part.
Okay.
That was juicy.
Yeah.
The dancing.
The dancing.
Dancing.
The dance.
Dance parties.
This is a little story about this, because that's me. And that's Steve Earle. So how did this little lady bring Steve Earle here? Well, I can tell you. So, I was at the jazz festival because I volunteered there, and we were locked out, and I was like, oh, the jazz festival's happening, and I'm locked out of work. So, you know, because I like being on the picket line. A lot of people that I usually work with, that it was such a different spirit. Like, everybody had, you know, like, they were really like, hey, we're here together. Oh, you know, like, so the day of this show, I was actually Steve Earle's artist hospitality crew chief at the center, which is right across from the plant. So I waited for when he was doing the sound check and everything, and I just approached him, and he was telling this funny story to his colleagues, the people he works with, about the best hot dog stand in New York. So I went over and I was like, "Hey, Steve, I work for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers." And he's like, oh, right, those guys, Canada Post. Are they still filibustering the legislation or whatever about this? And he knew all about our lockout. He knew all about the union struggles. I was really impressed at his level of knowledge. But I said to him, yeah, the main plant is right across the street. I was wondering if you'd like to come with me and we could go and join the picket. So he looks over at his wife and he's like, "Honey, I'm going with this lady. We're going to a picket across the street, the Canada Post workers." So he was really great, and it was, we had been legislated back by that point, and I think it was like a couple days, and we were supposed to be back at work, and he just, there was just a few of us, and he gave us like such a good pep talk. And he told us about unions. Even if you have a union, you still have to struggle and fight. Told about his father and the air traffic controllers and how they got, they all got fired under Reagan, and how they were unionized, and how it's not always just good enough to have a union. You have to fight, And he signed everybody's stuff, and only when the CBC came up to ask him something was he really short with them. You don't have any part of this. And then I just met him recently again, and he was like, "That was so fun last year." He has his Cup W local, Vancouver local sign, which he's kept, and he was like, "That was really fun last year," and he's like, "Look what I got! I got one of these from Revelstoke," and I was like, "I brought you some more. Now will you sign mine?" And this is Bryce, so I got him signed for him as well. So that's the story about how Steve Earle came to our picket.
2 weeks almost.
Yeah, wow.
2 weeks.
So is mail just not getting delivered for 2 weeks?
Nothing. Nothing going in, nothing going out.
Yeah. The unions don't just guarantee, higher wages for everybody. They guarantee continuity and, a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
For controllers, I grew up around airports. It makes me nervous to fly. I have to do it a lot. I have a very, 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 very good authority to this. What can I say? That's what I say. So it makes me, I'm kind of like this every time. I'm in the bus. As much as possible, I'm on the bus. I have to fly sometimes, but it's one of those deals. Well, I got to run back over because I got to feed a baby boy that's on the bus, and we have a 14-month-old.
And I think that the corporation and the government underestimated the public support that we would get and still have, and that's where our strength lies as well.
Okay, what I mostly remember and appreciated was all the different people who came by, support with pizza, donuts, water, ginger ale, you name it. It was wonderful. And people honking, saying they were in support.
But what was it, the Canadian Students' Union, is that what they're called?
Yes.
Yeah, they were there every day, every demo we had. They were quite supportive. And it's encouraging that young people aren't taken in by the bullshit, that they realize that our future and their future are entwined. It was really encouraging to see.
What I remember most is the camaraderie on the picket line, and it's the first time I picketed in a long time because the issues were so significant, even with my seniority, and I'm retiring in 2 years. I felt it was important to fight for the rights of new postal workers, because if the senior guys like me don't fight for those rights, the new postal workers will just have more rights eroded in the future. And I've made friends with people I picketed with that would be friends for the rest of my life, and that's the most important thing. It was a good experience overall. Thanks.
Thank you. And this happened all across Canada and Quebec. It was in every city and in every town. There was huge solidarity, huge creativity on the picket line, and huge support. People were phoning us up and complaining that they had too much food, too much donuts, and too much coffee on the picket line because it's the support and solidarity we got.
We're at the forefront of that fight in Labour. We saw the MPs standing up on our behalf, but on behalf of all working people. We're going back to work this afternoon. It's not going to be the same in there. We haven't been locked out before, and people are going to have a new attitude about going back to work. I think we'll be seeing people practicing a work-to-rule process that we haven't seen for a long time.
First of all, let me say on behalf of the working people of British Columbia, the 450,000 members of the BC Federation of Labour, we are so proud of postal workers. Thank you for your fight.
So while we were in Ottawa, we also had the opportunity to have the NDP caucus go for 58 hours, day and night. And I was so proud because what they were able to do is get the truth out. Every Conservative said approximately the same thing. They don't even know the difference between a strike and a lockout. They're so stupid.
The next Premier of the province, Adrian Dix from the NDP.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am so proud to be with you today. So proud to be with a union that fights for young people, that fights for equality, that fights for fairness, that fights for fair pensions. So proud to be with you today. And so disgusted with a government that behaves as this one does, locks you out, then legislates you back. That is a government that does not respect the people who work in this country. That is a government that deserves to be defeated. And that's a government that will be defeated.
We've been betrayed by an employer that asked for cutbacks at a time of unprecedented profits. We've been betrayed by a chief executive officer who earns more than the Prime Minister. We've been betrayed by a chief executive officer who receives a 33% personal performance bonus at a time when they're demanding a two-tier wage and benefit system.
And with their legislation, they've attacked the rights of new workers, which was one of the main issues in our struggle. We would not accept a lack of equality on our work floor. And we took a stand and said no. With this legislation, we have seen an attack on collective bargaining. In a 2007 Supreme Court ruling, groups of people were recognized to have the right to get together and collectively bargain, a process that is recognized in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
What really stands out for me about the lockout was the sense of positivity and optimism that prevailed throughout the entire 2-week period. I think everybody was taken by surprise when it ended up being the corporation that locked us out. And I think there was definitely a sense of betrayal among some of our members. And you wouldn't have known it on the lockout lines. I was at first surprised by just how many people showed up and committed to being there for the entire period of time. I remember as a zone coordinator arriving at the depots in the mornings to bring the picket signs and always having this feeling of anxiety inside me, thinking that there was going to be no one there. But people were always there, and and they remained for that entire 2-week period. And it was extremely positive. We had barbecues, and people brought their children and their pets, and we had dance parties and soccer games. It was an amazing period of time because we supported one another. I personally, for the very first time, really truly understood what the word solidarity and the concept of solidarity really means. And I got to know my coworkers, and that was probably the biggest blessing in that period of adversity, is that I got to know what an amazing group of people I work with, and I'll always be grateful for that.
I remember the exciting period of time during the rotating strikes where we would literally be hanging around the fax machine waiting to see who would be next to go and wondering if today would indeed be our turn. I remember the insanity of getting out all the picket paychecks, and I'll never forget the help I received and advice from people who had been there before in 97 and 91, been part of the strike pay team, and people who hadn't, that were in the office helping out, some of them because they were injured and weren't able to picket. I was proud of the way we behaved as a union, right from the president right through to the rank and file, and right through the entire period of time we're talking about. We were in a situation that was really a no-win situation due to the Harper majority government, and yet we couldn't back down from this fight. This was a fight we had to take on, and we did. And I feel that we did pretty well everything as well as it could have been done, and with dignity. We got a lot of public support due to the way we carried ourselves right through this situation. I'll also remember the filibuster. Finally, our side of the story was getting publicized, and the whole country was watching. It was inspirational. I enjoyed watching it. I'll never forget it. And, of course, I don't think any of us will ever forget Jack Layton.
Well, I remember the hockey game, the final hockey game, when we were on the line. And luckily, nobody was staying on the picket line because the riot broke out and was quite violent. And I watched it all on TV that night. That's what I remember most about us being on the picket line. Thank you.
As far as memories are concerned, very strong, very upbeat. Some people were concerned, but that's natural. But very strong and upbeat, and general strike is what I say. So I'm hoping we do, because we need it. This corporation needs to see what we can do when we stick together. So general strike is what I say. Be ready for it, management. We're coming for you.
Well, I still feel betrayed by my government, by my corporation. Any other corporation in Canada whose CEO made such a horrible business decision by locking us out, losing customers that may never return, would have been fired. Until our CEO was fired, I can no longer respect this corporation. Thank you.
I have a lot of really fond memories of the lockout. The barbecues and the dancing and the camaraderie, but it sure would be nice to have a contract.